They focus too much on the traffic and not enough on their conversion. By improving the conversion, it can actually be not just more effective, but financially more effective. If a review on there was 4 stars plus, people are more likely to buy it. Below 4 stars, they won't buy it. If it's 5 stars, people don't trust it because it sounds too perfect to be true. The website will say something like, "This is what we do," rather than "This is how we can help you." It's like doing a presentation and talking all about yourself rather than "This is actually how what I do can help solve your problem."
Okay. So I'm pulling this quote from you where you say that websites get the results that they deserve. So come on, hit us with the harsh truth about what the deal is with websites.
Okay, so quite often I think one of the things I see quite a lot when someone's had a new website built is comments about how attractive it looks, how nice it looks, but very rarely they get stuck into whether it's actually getting results. And most of the time, I think that websites are built for a business reason, particularly if it's for a business. And the key, I think, for websites when they're for a business is to do something for that business, whether that's to sell something in case of e-commerce businesses. But even for websites where they're for a service or something like that, it's to book a call, it's to download something which the user might find useful, which might be a lead, something else. And for me, that's the most important thing about a business website. So that's why I say they get the results they deserve.
But it's an interesting point though, because a good looking website is going to convert more than like a crappy looking website, right? Where's like kind of the line?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it has to look attractive. Otherwise, people are going to go elsewhere straight away. But it has to have a clear sort of guide for the visitors so the visitor knows what they need to do. So first of all, it needs to answer their pain point. So the visitor has come to the website usually because they need an answer to a question, they need help with something, they have a pain point they need support with. Um, and the website needs to show, first of all, that it can solve that problem. And it needs to do that quickly because otherwise visitors are very likely to jump off straight away. I would say they have about 3 to 5 seconds before the visitor is thinking, not sure, I might go elsewhere. And then they need to say exactly what they want the visitor to do. So there needs to be a clear call to action. So the visitor comes to the site, sees that this service or this product could help them, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, this can solve my problem." It's like, right, what do you want me to do? There was a famous book about website conversion called "Don't Make Me Think," and that's a great title because it's like, don't make the visitor think. They need to know straight away, this is what I need to do. This can solve my problem. And this is why I need to click that button.
Got it. So if you were to audit, let's say 100 e-commerce websites, what would you find that is broken on like more than 90% of them?
One of the things I see quite a lot is the website will say something like, "This is what we do," rather than "This is how we can help you." So it talks about, so if I'm a website, it's talking about me, it's talking about what I do, rather than saying how I can help solve your pain problem. And that is one of the biggest problems that I see. It's like doing a presentation and talking all about yourself rather than doing a presentation and saying, "This is actually how what I do can help solve your problem." So I say that's probably the I see.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that I've, from researching your stuff is like everything is data driven, right? Like you really focus on that as a key point is in having everything to be data driven. Can you just give an example of obviously what that means to anybody who has a website for their business?
So there's, I mean, we've spoken so far in this conversation about kind of the best things that are for a website. Um, but quite often visitors can do strange things and they might be seeing something which you can't see. Um, and data is what brings that out because if you are looking and seeing that people are going from page A to page B, or they're not going from page A to page C, um, that is giving you an indication that something is not working. Um, And there's two different types of data that I talk about. So there's quantitative. So I don't know, 5 people are going from page A to page B, and then qualitative, which is why people aren't doing that thing. So the two types of data that I look at are numbers, as in how many people are going from page A to page B to page C, whatever, into the website. But the key also is to look at why people aren't doing that. And there's bits of software like heat mapping and things like that, so you can see where the mouse goes on the page. If it's really smart, it can see where the eye is going as well, and then you can see why people might be not doing what you're expecting them to do. And I think that's the most vital part of getting websites to perform better.
So how many people are actually looking at that in your experience?
The simple answer is not enough. I did a masterclass last week, and that's one of the first questions I asked. I said, "How often are you looking at your analytics?" And the general answer was not enough. And I'll be brutally honest, I don't look enough at mine as well. So
Uh,
it's I mean, one of the other problems is sometimes it takes a bit of time to look at it. Um, the latest or the most popular analytics is Google Analytics, and the latest version of it is not the most user friendly. And I think a lot of people look at it and they're kind of like, oh, they get exhaustion at having to look at it, and it tends to get ignored.
who inside the business needs to be looking at it?
Whoever is trying to get more business in. I mean, in larger businesses, so businesses I've worked in, larger e-commerce businesses, we would have someone that's their job to basically look at the data. Um, Certainly, when I was looking after e-commerce teams, we would on a weekly basis look at the data, provide reports for the business, and then make decisions based on that. Obviously, if it's a smaller business, it's a lot more difficult to do that. But ultimately, it's like anything within a business. If you're looking at the data and working out what's going on, then that is crucial to, is your business going to grow? Is it going to progress? Um, so it's the website owner or whoever's in charge of growing the business.
There's like these examples where the people like who are internal are not doing the job that they need to be doing, right? If you're basing these decisions on the internal people and they're not doing the job that they need to be doing, when do you know it's time that like to bring in somebody like yourself?
I think if you're aware that your business needs to grow, and you see online or your website as a way for that to grow, but you're struggling with the capacity to do that, as well as the other parts of your business, whether that be the marketing, whether that be other sales channels, whether that be producing your products or service, then that's where I can provide value, because I can come in as an external resource and do provide this information for you on a regular basis, and as well as that, um, provide some help from an experience point of view, having worked in the space for, feeling my age now, nearly 20 years. So um, that's where, experience where things have happened to me or businesses I've worked in before can add some value, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So you worked for a large telecom company, right?
Yeah. So three, who's a mobile.
Okay. Is that like the equivalent of like T-Mobile or AT&T in the US or?
Yeah, I think when I worked for them, there were, I think, were five major ones, and a load of them have all merged now. So I think so three, I think, has just merged with Vodafone, so it's one of the biggest now.
And you worked with them like during their most like explosive growth phase that they were going through, right? So what is the strategy that you use there that kind of carries out to all of the, clients that you're currently advising now?
I think there were two things that we did quite well during that period, and yeah, it was very early on. I mean, they'd only been launched, I think, 3 or 4 years when I was in the e-commerce team. Um, so the first thing is to try new technology out. So this was the mid 2000s, quite early in website space, but we tried things like web chat. So I mean, web chat, I think, is all over the internet now. It wasn't such a big thing around that time, but we thought, well, this might give us a better understanding about what our customers are looking for. So we adopted that quite early. Um, and it was great for us. I mean, we had if a visitor came onto web chat, spoke to one of our guys, they were 25% more likely to make a purchase than someone that didn't come onto web chat. So that was really big for us. The other thing that we did, and I didn't pick up on this straight away, but it was really important, was that we tested everything. Um, so really good example. We were redoing the homepage. We built the page ourselves. We thought, yeah, that looks great. And one of our agencies said, yeah, we're not so sure. Gave us a couple of other examples to try out, and we were like, no, don't like those. But they said, well, look, let's test it. And we agreed to test it. And needless to say, that the one that we thought was good didn't didn't do quite as well, and the one that they thought was good obviously did really well. And from then on, we spend 10% of our budget all the time on testing new things. And that was great because it just allowed us, it allowed our marketing agencies that were doing things like search, paid search. It allowed them to test things out, and then they could say, "Look, this works. Let's bring it into the main budget." So testing is just such a powerful tool, particularly because in online you can see the data behind it all the time. That everything is measured, so you can see that, for example, one page is working better than the other. More people are clicking on the button than they would be if that wasn't there, and things like that. And that's why online is so powerful, because it allows you to do that sort of thing.
Yes, but so when you're thinking 10% of the budget, like that could be a significant amount of money, right? For testing, depending on the company and what the budget is, right? So do you think that spending that 10%, even if the test doesn't go right, you still see getting that ROI on that 10% that you're putting into that testing phase?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I saw a stat that I think when you do an A/B test, which is where you test two web pages against each other, I think it's something like between 80 and 90% of those sorts of tests don't bring the desired result, or don't bring the result that you want. But ultimately, you're still learning from that. And it then gives you the guidance to then go to the next test, so to speak. So even a test that doesn't bring a result gives you a learning. And that's ultimately what helps you to grow, because you learn what works, what doesn't, and then, as I say, it takes you forward. So I, from the moment we started doing it, I always swear by it, that
Okay, cool.
you always use part of it for testing.
Yo, I just wanted to take a very quick break in the action here because I just realized something crazy. 85% of the people that are watching our videos on YouTube are not subscribed. This is what happens when you actually get smart people to look into your analytics. So if you are enjoying this content and you want more practical advice and tips on how to grow your brand and your business with video, please hit the subscribe button. I do truly appreciate it. Secondly, if you are a founder and expert who really understands how important video is to grow your business, but you don't have time to mess around with cameras, write scripts, do video editing, or blow your entire budget on a fancy film crew, that's exactly what we help with at Video on Easy Mode. You are literally watching how it works in this episode right now. We make it easy to create high quality, natural video content to help you grow your business and grow your brand without leaving the comfort of your home or office. So if this sounds like something that your business can use right now, either scan the QR code or hit the link in the description. It's all remote. All you got to do is show up to a virtual studio, hang out with me for about an hour, and you're going to get a month's worth of videos. And let's get back into the interview. Let's say you're walking into a similar company like the 3 Mobile, right? Like you're walking into a similar company, similar situation right now. What's your process to diagnose what's going on step by step with their site?
So the first thing I would do straight away is complete audit of the website. So that would look at, first of all, just the general look, feel, best practices, things like that. But the most important part would be to do a data audit. So it would strip out their analytics, strip out things like heat mapping, which, as I say, shows where everyone goes on the website, and find out where the website is falling down. Um, so an example might be that there might be a particular product page where users are landing and they're just not progressing past that page for some reason, or quite often, users are getting into the point where they're saying, yeah, okay, I want to purchase, and then something within the checkout process is making them stop. So that might be
Mm.
they pause because they think, well, hang on a minute, what happens if this doesn't work? Or what happens if I want to send it back? that there might just be something that makes them pause. And quite often, as I say, in the checkout is where things might, or users might start dropping out. Um, and those would start, and you again, we were talking about the data process earlier. That's what will show where the biggest problem is. And that's usually the best place to start, because ultimately that will be the low hanging fruit, the quick wins. So that would always be the first thing I would do.
Okay, so now we've done the, looked at the data, we see where the problem is. Then how do you advise?
So then it's time to sort of test possible solutions. For that, I mean, obviously there's likely to be some ideas within the company itself, or the team, as to why that's not working. But usually there might be other sources of why people are getting frustrated. So as an example, some of the e-commerce teams I worked in we also had a telesales team. So one of the companies I worked at, we just listened to all the telesales calls to find out what the frustrations were, because it might have been that the user might have been on the website, they've gone on and they hadn't found what they were looking for, they've gone to telesales or something like that. If it's an e-commerce store that has retail store, um, find out from the people that work in the stores as to what people get frustrated with. And it gives you ideas about why people might be making the decision not to purchase online. Usually gives some little nuggets as to why things might not be working.
Given your background in working with telecom and working with SaaS and then like also doing all these website audits for e-commerce brands and everything, what is one conversion tactic that any company should steal right now that works?
Social proof. So
Mm,
one of the phrases I use quite a lot is, customers don't trust brands, they trust other customers. And the best examples I can give is, if you purchase something from, Amazon is the most famous example. If you're going on a holiday and you're picking a hotel to stay at, what's the first thing you look at? Is the reviews. And interestingly, I did a workshop again last week, and we had a guy on there who actually works, or has worked in the e-commerce space, and he worked at Amazon. And we were discussing social proof, and some people were like, social proof really that important? And he said, sorry, can I just pipe up here? He said, I worked at Amazon. He said, trust me. He said, reviews are the most important thing. And if I'm totally stealing what he said here, but if a review on there was 4 stars plus, people are more likely to buy it. Below 4 stars, they won't buy it. But interestingly, and this is quite important as well, if it's 5 stars, people don't trust it, because it sounds too perfect to be true. So and this is the other thing I would say was with regard to social proof, is don't be scared of the bad reviews, because it's not necessarily the fact you've got a bad review, it's how you dealt with it. So if, for example, someone's given you a bad review and you say, yeah, we screwed up there, this is how we resolved it, then people will trust you more than you saying that everything's perfect, or people saying that everything's perfect. So, but social proof for me is just the biggest thing. Anything that shows that you can do what you promise you can do, which comes from other people, is so powerful.
yeah, that's that whole thing about if you have a bad experience and the company fixes your bad experience and then turns it into like a good experience, like you are way more likely to talk about that company and recommend it to somebody else than if you just never had the bad experience at all. Yeah, I feel like that kind of aligns to what you're saying when it comes to the reviews and everything. So when you worked at 3Mobile, you said that you implemented web chat early on,
Yeah.
right? And that was a big factor in the success. So what is the trending or emerging technology in websites right now that is the web chat of that time that will become the standard for people in the next 2 to 3 years?
It'd probably be web chat without people. Um,
So it's still web chat, just without people. Okay. So it's AI chat bots is what you're saying.
I don't think necessarily AI is going to completely replace people chat, but the companies that I've seen that use AI well. So what I mean by that is you will have people coming to your website, and probably 80% of the questions they ask are the questions that everyone is asking. And if you can get AI to deal with those, then the human respondents can deal with the bigger issues, so to speak, the bigger questions, the bigger problems. And the companies that I've seen it well, and I go on websites all the time, and I can usually tell when I'm dealing with a chatbot. But it's amazing how some companies do that really, really well. And what that AI allows you to do is it finds you the right person very quickly, particularly if it's a bigger company where they have different departments and things like that. The ones that don't do it so well will just get you frustrated and just wanting you to, or making you want to go elsewhere, basically. Um, but definitely, I would say that there is space for AI if it's used effectively, and it just because ultimately users come to a website and they don't get all the answers they want, and they want to get those answers quickly. And having some sort of response like that is better than a thing saying, well, here's a contact form. Fill in this contact form. We'll get back to you in 48 hours. Or call us on this number. I mean, if someone's on a website, they don't necessarily want to call you. They want to deal with your website. They want the answers from that. So if you can use AI effectively, and obviously AI is getting better by the day, then that's going to be incredibly powerful, I would say.
Cool. How do companies like kind of transition from those simple questions that AI is answering to human intervention?
I think really answering the right questions, so finding out exactly where, and it's kind of like routing. I also, and it's one of the weirdest but best examples is kind of like if you go to hospital, you've injured yourself, you go to hospital, and the first thing you have is someone to say, okay, what's your issue? Oh, I've broken my finger, or I think I've broken my finger. Okay, right, we need to take you to the X-ray department. Or I don't know, I don't feel well. I've got a temperature. Okay, we're going to take you to this area. Uh, this is how quickly we think you need to see a doctor, and things like that. So it's kind of like finding out what the problem is and directing you in the right direction, without trying to solve the problem where AI might go down completely the wrong route, but it just helps direct people to the right area, so to speak.
Got you. All right, I'm going to completely shift gears now. So, what is the most dramatic like conversion rate that you've seen in working with a client? And like, what was the one thing that really, moved the needle for them?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, right, okay. There's been examples where um, something very obvious has been missed on the page, and doing that small tweak has seen conversion skyrocket just by it might be a distraction, it might be just something which is causing people to not do what it wants. And then, I've seen conversions. I mean, the um, the title on my LinkedIn is to double your conversion, and something like that can do it. But another example I've seen is where it, and again, this is kind of helped by AI. It's just understanding what customers are trying to do, and it might be something really weird, like customers only make purchases in a certain time of the day. So therefore, having more strong sales messages at that time of the day will increase conversion. Um, and something as simple as that can actually skyrocket your conversion when you wouldn't think it. You think that something that you think that the web page has to look exactly the same every time of day, whereas actually sometimes customers come to the site for information gathering, and sometimes customers come to the site because they want to buy. And it could be something as simple as showing them the right option at the right time, which can cause conversion to skyrocket. And as I say, when I first saw that, that absolutely blew my mind. But I guess it makes sense as well.
That's really interesting. If you would say that there's one thing that companies are spending too much money on when it comes to their website, what is it?
I would say a lot of the time, and this is particularly with slightly smaller businesses, they focus too much on the traffic and not enough on their conversion, or not enough on the site itself. So when they're looking, they see a ton of traffic coming, and they're like, it's not converting. Right? Okay, we just need more traffic. I actually had an example of this with a client who said, look, we were getting a ton of traffic. last year, and sales were great. And then it went into the new year. We're still getting a ton of traffic, but our sales aren't great. And what we did is we looked at the data, we dug into it, and they'd made a slight tweak to their paid search traffic, their advertising strategy, and that had completely screwed everything over. And all they did is they went back to the same tactic they were using before, and everything was fine. So, and as I say, quite often in users in that situation or companies in that situation would say, "Okay, we just need more traffic." Whereas actually, um, by improving the conversion, it can actually be not just more effective, but financially more effective. Because if you're getting the same amount of traffic, you just make one little tweak, but it doubles your conversion. Um, work out the numbers, and I'm not going to do it off the top of my head, but I've done that before. Um, it's going to be a more effective way than spending more money on more traffic.
That makes perfect sense. All right, let's end with this. So you offer a guarantee that if website visitors are not clicking that call to action, that you're going to keep working for free. Why are you so confident that you can offer that guarantee?
That's a good question. I've basically I have done it before. I've seen a lot of reasons why websites aren't working, and I think that all websites can be improved. I do. One thing I would say is that if someone comes, and I think I've said this on LinkedIn, if someone comes to me and their website is converting at 10%, I'm not going to double your conversion. You're doing well. Because I think the average Shopify site converts at just under 2%. So if you're getting 10%, then you're doing good. You're doing good. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, I just think that the average site can always be, and I've seen so many examples where you think that site is not going to convert at more than the average, and there's always a way. There's always a way to do it. And as I say, I'm always determined to find the right answers, and that's why I think if we don't get there, we'll keep going until we do.
I love it. Cool. Well, Simon, thank you so much for coming on here. This was definitely a master class in web conversions here. What's the best way for people to reach out and connect with you?
Definitely LinkedIn. So search for me on LinkedIn, Simon Pete, and yeah, I put stuff on there every day.
Peat, Peat, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everyone spells my name wrong, so I'm used to that. I put stuff on there every day, and the connection button is always open, so to speak. So, yeah, it's always great to hear from people, and if I can help, then that's great.
Beautiful. Well, like I said, Simon, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you around on LinkedIn.